black people are the reason like Louis Vuitton is, or Arnold Bernot got all these $100 billion because black people buy so much Louis, or all of these Gucci has billions of dollars because black people buy so much Gucci. And I'm like, and I always thought like, why do y'all keep saying that? Like you probably, unless you are a person that makes a lot of money or something like that, and you just hang around a bunch of people with a lot of money, you probably don't even know a single black person with a real Gucci item or a real Louis item. You probably don't know one, unless, like I said, unless you hang around people that have money. You don't know no bunch of broke black people with no real Louis Vuitton. You don't know a bunch of broke black people with real Gucci. If they, like, let's be real. If they have it, they want the look. They really buying it for $15 at the nearest like flea market or whatever like that. They're not really buying real Louis, and we're not really spending thousands of dollars on Louis bubble coats and Gucci trench coats and all that. Like that's made up. Y'all made that up in your head, and then you just keep running with it to make yourself feel like you saying something smart. Let's be real. The only black people who buy that type of stuff are the ones who can buy that kind of stuff. I can't fake buy a $5,000 purse. I can't do it. If I'm poor, living in the hood, I can't fake that. If I really had $5,000 to go buy a purse, which I don't, or I just got a fake purse and it just say Louis Vuitton on it. That's more than likely what it is. But I want to say this because they make it seem like this stuff is being upheld by black people. So I wanted to just read something to y'all because y'all think that it's just us. I'm just going to tell y'all the number one consumer. South Koreans are the world's biggest spenders on luxury goods. Right? Total spending on goods by South Koreans year on year around 24%. Oh, no, sorry. Okay, so pretty much, so South Korea is, what they say? Get what they say here. South Korea is around the size of Kentucky. There's about 50 million people in South Korea, and they lead per capita the highest spending per person on luxury items. Right. Number 2 is America at like $200 something a person, and number 3 is China. But overall, Asians by far buy more luxury goods than everybody. Really, they buy the most. By far, though, it's not close. If you combine all the Asian countries, and they buy way more. But somehow, and America as a country is not even number one. But somehow, people like to repeat that is black people buying all of the luxury goods. How? Let me go to something real quick, right? And they go to this like, oh, trillion, like people like to say black people have a 1 trillion dollar buying power. So that's why we're using our money on like Louis and Mercedes, and we're not using it on anything of real value. Let me read this tweet from Boyce Watkins. Black people spent $1.6 trillion this year, more than the GDP of Mexico, Saudi Arabia, Sweden, and about 200 other countries. We have plenty of money. What we don't have are the skills required to build institutions that preserve our economic power. Okay, Boyce Watkins is a PhD in he has a PhD in finance, and he made a tweet like that, right? He didn't post a link to a study. He didn't do the study himself. He didn't post any real data behind it. He just said we spent $1.6 trillion this year. In reality, what what's really going on is they say, because CLIG, which is a school at the University of Georgia, they do a study every year and they put out this report, this economic report pretty much, right? They put out a report that black people in America have buying power of $1.533 trillion. We didn't spend that much money. We have buying power of that much money. And what that means is after taxes, how much money comes into the house. That's before expenses and everything else. But after taxes, how much money is coming. So then I'm just like, but this dude is a PhD in finance, but he's not given any type of not only is he wrong about the 1.6 trillion and us, because we didn't spend that much money, he's just flat out wrong about that. Not only is he wrong about it, he didn't even care to do any type of study to say, well, this is actually what these numbers mean, and here's how we look at it. Let's look at. There's a report done by McKinsey and Company, right? And I just want to read some of it. I don't necessarily like the direction and agenda of the report, because the agenda of this report I'm about to read from McKinsey is talking about how Black Americans are a consumer base that's untapped, and there's another $300 billion that can be extracted from Black people if companies will just do the right thing and market to us the right way. So I don't like where this is going, but there's good information in this report. So I just want to read it to y'all real quick. It's just one of the subheading is there's a big market to be unearthed if companies meet the real needs of Black consumers. So they are really trying to figure out how they can extract more money from the little that we already have. But let's get into it. Okay. I do wish I could look at it. Okay. Black households do have lower income and wealth. Wait, see, there's more. Okay. I feel like I should read all this, but I don't want to just read it all. But if y'all want to listen, though, we can read too. Black households do have lower income and wealth. Despite being 13.4% of the U.S. population, Black households account for just under 10% of the nation's total spending goods and services. That's in 2019. So, of course, some of this data comes out years or a couple years afterwards, after it's been documented. So we're not going to have this all the way up until 2023. That's just. It comes out years later. Because Black workers bring home smaller paychecks, they have less money to work with every month, especially after accounting for debt. Nonetheless, companies that interpret this data as proof that there's little profit. Well, okay, let me skip over that, right? Let me look through here. So I just want to say there, right? Even though Black people are 13.4% of the population in America, we spend less than we account for less than 10% of the spending. So when they talk about Black people and all our terrible spending habits and all that, they never want to discuss the fact that we don't spend to the proportion of our population in this country. Why do they leave that out? It's because because they want to look for a reason to blame Black people for what's going on in this country, right? You just always leave that part out, right? We have less money and we spend less than what's going on. Okay, so here we go. Let's look. Let me see here. We estimate, like I said, this article is about the agenda of figuring out how to tap into that $300 billion of untapped resources in the Black community that they can extract and figure out how to take it. Okay. So like I said, this is from McKinsey and Company. Their agenda is how can we get this money up out of Black people? So they're not coming at it from any other angle. There's no denying that Black consumption has been constrained, and while it's growing quickly, that growth is started from a lower base. The steadily rising cost of housing, healthcare, and higher education, needs that are foundation to the quality of life and the possibility of future mobility, are eating up large share of household budgets for all poor and middle-class American families, particularly for Black households. The share of expenditures Black households direct to these three categories rose from 38% in 1984 to 45% in 2019. So to summarize that, Black people in America spend 45% of our income on housing, healthcare, and higher education. That doesn't include transportation. It doesn't include debt, and it does higher education and healthcare would be. So let's say that doesn't include transportation, and it doesn't include food. Those are major necessary expenditures. And we spend 45% on just those three items: housing, healthcare, and higher education. Think about that. Again, they like to tell you that Black people are just out here blowing our money on stupidity, but they don't want to look at the actual numbers. If you just look at the actual numbers, it will support the fact that there is something greater at play that is hindering us from doing certain things that we want to do to progress ourselves. Because contrary to popular belief, spending habits is not the issue. Let's go on. Let's go. And this information comes from the, let me read this real quick. Our analysis of publicly available but previously uncompiled microdata from the Census Bureau Consumers Expenditure Survey shows that at similar income levels, Black households spend a smaller share of their income than white households, although more goes to the basics. This is not, however, translated into more liquid savings. More money in Black households goes to giving financial support to extended family, servicing higher student debt burdens, and paying higher interest rates on various consumer loans. Y'all sick for saying Black people have bad spending habits, and that's the reason we can't get ahead. You a sick one for that. Let me read this again because you sick for talking about us like that without ever doing any research on the situation. We talking about people as high as Black PhDs. We talking about people who run magazines like Essence. I seen a crazy article from y'all talking about Black people spending on luxury. We talking about people in high places that have a lot of influence in the Black community that want to perpetuate this idea that Black people are blowing all our money on stupid shit. You're wrong. The numbers don't support what you're saying. The Census Bureau is not biased politically in any way. They just have numbers. They just have data and they just report it. And then it's up to media companies like myself and other media companies to go out there and interpret that information. Where did y'all get this idea from that Black people spent $1.6 trillion in a year? Where'd you get that from? You made it up. Where did y'all get from that Black people are leading in some type of way in luxury consumption? Where'd you get it from? You made it up, or you listened to somebody that was also wrong about Black people. No numbers anywhere support that. Let me read this again. Black households. Okay, here we go. Survey shows that at similar income levels, Black households spend a smaller share of their income than white households, although more goes towards the basics. This has not, however, translated into more liquid savings. More money in Black households goes to giving financial support to extended family, servicing higher student debt burdens, and paying higher interest rates on consumer loans. We don't even talk about the highest interest rates that we get just because we're Black. That's the Black tax. Nobody want to talk about that. It's like, hey, you want to go listen to one of these white financial gurus and they're going to tell you, hey, yeah, put this much money down on your credit card every month and you'll be paid off in 6 months. And we sitting here like, dang, that ain't really work for me. I've been trying to do it, but I'm trying to figure it out. Like, I don't have enough money to put that much money down on my credit card every month. Like, how are they doing this? You can't figure it out, but you don't want to say out loud why you can't figure it out. But there's a bunch of people that feel the same way about what's going on. They can't figure out either how this is working like this. The reason it's working like this is because you have a way higher interest rate than the person that's giving that advice. You don't have but you like, dang, I got a 740 credit score. Like, why can't I, but the thing about it is people don't want to share that type of stuff because it's embarrassing. So you'll never know that the person is not able to do it. But the data says that we have higher interest rates. That's what the information says. I didn't make it up. It's not coming from me. This is what the U.S. Census Bureau said. You understand what I'm saying? And do we need to talk about the more money in Black households goes to giving financial support to extended family? Because there's also this weak narrative that Black people don't help each other, we don't support each other, we don't show love to each other and stuff like that. If part of the reason that we are having a hard time getting ahead financially is because a larger percentage of our money goes to helping extended family financially, how come people don't talk about that? Some people, the people who actually help their family, we talk about it. But the people who like to run these narratives about Black people and our bad spending habits, y'all don't ever want to talk about that. The fact that literally the family will fall apart if we let these people just go without having funds. They won't eat. If we go without having these funds, they won't be able to pay for their shelter if they go without having these funds. So literally you have to help them out. You have to. You just can't not help them out. You can't say, oh, Black people got to share our money within the community. And then you're going to call us stupid for actually sharing our money with the community. You like figure out a narrative that you can run with, that you can back up with some type of science. That's all I want from people. Stop getting in these high positions and then looking for a way to look down on other black people who have not done what you've done. See, I'm different. The stuff I'm talking, I'm not complaining about my life. I work to a position. I am not complaining about my life. I'm not talking about just my life. I'm talking about stuff I've been through, but I'm not talking about just my life. It ain't about me. The numbers that are out there and available for everybody to go read disagree with the stuff that y'all say about your own people. And you say it because you want to feel better than somebody. I get it. It helps you out. You want to feel like you're better than people. I get it. But you are factually wrong. Let me move on a little bit. Beneath these sobering realities, however, is a market with substantial buying power and influence. Okay, that's why I said this whole thing is about extracting money from black people. In 2019, consumer expenditures by black households totaled approximately $835 billion. Combined spending. Okay, so in 2019, black people spent $835 million. Y'all realize that they have been saying black people had a $1.2 trillion buying power for like 7-8 years now. But you never heard them say that black people combined spent $835 billion. So where's this buying power versus what we are spending? Two different things. And I already just told y'all earlier that 45% of all black dollars are going to three categories: housing, healthcare, and what was the third one? My bad, I forgot it that fast. Housing, healthcare, and higher education. Three things that people need. You don't need higher education. You need some form of higher education. It doesn't just mean college. So we are spending our money on the proper things. And it's still not really translating into us closing this wealth gap. The reason we're not able to close wealth gap because, like earlier mentioned in this article, we bring home less money than other people. They're paying us less, and it just is what it is. We make less money. The pay gap, as I've been saying since 2016, is not a gender pay gap. It's a racial pay gap. There's different pay scales for each race. If you go look up the pay, and when you look up the pay scales per race, you're going to see a bigger gap from race to race than you're going to see from gender to gender. You see what I'm saying? The pay gap is really white women make 10% more than black men. If it's a gender pay gap, shouldn't I make more than her? Asian women make like 20% more than black men. If it's a gender pay gap, shouldn't I make more than that lady? No, it don't work like that. They pay per race in this country. If we all had the same job, they would pay you based on like who's connected with who and who can do this for. Okay, the white person is going to get paid the most. The Asian person is their pay is what it is because of the fields that they work in a lot of times. But if we really accounted for all the Asian people in this country, not just the ones that are like documented and went to college, if we accounted for all of them, their numbers would come down because a lot of them work in service fields that they don't make that much money in. That's another thing they'll talk about. They're lower earning people. They just keep them off the rolls. They keep them off the documentation, keep them away from statistics to keep their numbers looking better. Man, listen. Yeah, like, let me see. Do I got any, there's just too much information out there for us to go look at to stop saying that black people are just blowing all our money on X, Y, like whatever. It's foolishness. It's too much information out there, right? I can read you real quick. The buying power, so total American buying power in 2023, and this is from that report I was talking about from the Selig Center, right? The Terry College of Business at the University of Georgia. The American buying power was $17.194 trillion. Or no, I'm sorry. It was $17 trillion, right? 17.194, right? So the white portion of that is 13.89 trillion. Black portion of that is 1.53 trillion, right? The Asian percentage of that is 1.33 trillion. So you got to think about this. In the population of America, there's double plus tax the amount of black people that there are Asian people, but they essentially have the same buying power as black people. Okay. And for Native American, $136 billion, which a lot of them are off the rolls, so that makes sense. Hispanic, which is could be different races or whatever, but Hispanic they have broken out because that's an ethnicity, not a race, is $1.9 trillion. So the population, the Hispanic and the black population are similar. Like there's like 14% Hispanic or 14 or 15% Hispanic population in America. There's like 13.4, 13.5 black percent population that's black. But they have 400 billion more on their spending power than we do in America, right? And that's not a knock on them. I mean, you gotta get it how you live, right? So I just want I don't know what other information people need to see or hear or read, but please go read this information because y'all have to stop saying this crazy stuff about black people and our spending habits. Like they like literally the way that people talk about us, they want us to be no entertainment, no food, or no entertainment. We have to cook every day. We have to go to the cheapest universities and get the best education somehow. We have to go to public schools and also get the best education somehow. We have to drive the cheapest vehicles. We have to live in the smallest, cheapest houses in the cheapest neighborhoods. And then let's talk about like starting some type of $1 billion business. Like this don't even make sense. No community operates like that. It don't make sense that people just keep calling for the black community to just have perfect. We only spend our money on the most perfect things. That don't even make sense. We already spend better than everybody else because we are doing more with less than everybody else. And I won't say everybody else, I'll say the majority. We do more with less than the majority. More of our money is going to the necessities than everybody else because we have the least amount of money and wealth. Come on, man.